as I experience thinking these thoughts, it is as if I think the thought, and then I have the thought, I suppose, in my memory banks. It is as if there are a series of procedures or subroutines that I don't really directly control. I simply have the thoughts. I think them, and I have them. Some of these thoughts I choose to say. Somehow, instantaneously, a thought is diverted and gets said, while others I merely think, but don't say. They remain a secret. I am amazed at how there seems to be no effort, really, on my part. I simply think the thoughts, decide which ones to say, which ones to keep to myself. And there's no complex series of steps that I consciously go through to decide to speak a particular thought. I simply have the thought and seemingly simultaneously will to speak it, and it is spoken. And as I speak it, a whole new array of procedures and subroutines come to mind, giving me new thoughts. As I speak a particular thought, there are many muscular changes and processes that come into play, again without any real conscious effort on my part. Muscles that control the flow of air leaving my lungs as it goes through my voice box and out my mouth. My vocal cords, mouth, tongue, and lips all very quickly and subtly coordinate again with some thoughts staying in my head, while other thoughts I choose to speak, and I do. And as I am speaking these thoughts, there are sound waves that I produce, jostling around the various air molecules in this room, creating a sound pressure wave or series of waves varying in intensity and frequency. These are in turn captured, or at least they interact with the diaphragm of my microphone. This converts the sound waves into electrical impulses, or maybe interprets the sound waves, creating analogous electrical impulses, traveling down a wire into an interface that has a analog to digital converter that changes the electrical impulses into new electrical impulses that represent digital information that is a record of the sound wave that previously interacted with the diaphragm of my microphone. At some point in my future, but your past, I will use software on my computer and manipulate this digital information, ultimately creating a file that I will upload to another computer. This file, presumably, will remain somewhat inert until you, at your computer, using particular software, click on a link, opening the file, and the impulses will travel to another interface, sending information and impulses ultimately to speakers or headphones that will create sound waves least in some sense, an approximation of the sound waves that occur in this room now. To be occurring in that room now. This brings to my mind the image, notion, or thought of a juggler with balls juggling in the air. Each ball is one of my thoughts, and I choose to toss one to you via an albeit somewhat complicated path. Bring you to catch it. This brings to mind another curious notion as I am having these thoughts of juggling balls, etc., and tossing one to you. I seem to be anticipatorily aware of thoughts I am about to have. There seems to be a simultaneous creation of thought and reaction to that very thought occurring within me, in my mind. And I wonder, how can I be sure of any of this? Perhaps I am the victim of some trickster that has seduced me with some dream state vision, and all of this is really an illusion, figment of some imagination. This brings to mind another thought from a memory. I believe it is from a Hindu concept of Maya, or play, that everything that we experience and think of as reality is really experiential illusion. One idea is that there is the god Brahma, and everything is this god's dream. this makes me wonder on a existential point of being in my own head and uncertain of my place in the universe. And perhaps this uncertainty, sense of possible isolation, can be, at least in part, a motivation for tossing the ball. If I can toss you the ball and you can catch it, maybe somehow we are finding evidence that we each exist. Maybe by being clever or passionate, empathetic, we can bridge our existential isolation via some form of communication, so that by reaching out to each other, we can assure ourselves that we are not alone, but are part of a greater community. Maybe this, in fact, was my original thought, the foundation that motivated all the other balls being juggled, was really that thought exerting itself in my mind to be expressed so that you could listen, hear, understand, catch the ball. So that is my thought. The thought simply with love and compassion